I could go on and on about why you need these lemon scones in your kitchen today, but I'll let them do the talking. Convinced? Okay, let's dive in. For the scone dough, you'll need 1.5 cups or 214 grams of all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of unrefined sea salt. I use unrefined sea salt, so if you use regular table salt, then you'll probably want to decrease the amount just a bit. This is because unrefined sea salt contains less sodium than regular salt. 1 tablespoon of fresh lemon zest. You want about 1 tablespoon of lemon zest, but if your lemon yields more than 1 tablespoon, then you can go ahead and throw the rest in. Make sure to save the lemon juice for the glaze. 6 tablespoons of cold butter cut into smaller pieces. Confession, I have used both salted and unsalted butter here, and I can't really tell a difference. I usually go for salted since that's what I usually have on hand. 1 large egg, 3 tablespoons of cane sugar or maple syrup. You could also use coconut sugar, sucanat, etc. If you opt for a liquid sweetener such as maple syrup, you might want to add a little bit more flour. And if you use a dry sweetener, you might want to add a little more yogurt or a bit of heavy cream to get the dough to the right consistency. 1/2 cup of full-fat Greek yogurt. I have used fat-free Greek yogurt and then added a bit of cream in order to increase the fat content. In a pinch, you could substitute cream for all of the Greek yogurt, but you'll want to reduce the amount a bit since cream is thinner than Greek yogurt. 1 teaspoon of lemon flavoring. The lemon extract, sometimes called lemon flavoring, is optional in the scone dough, but I do not recommend skipping it in the scone glaze, which I'll talk about more in a bit. I haven't personally tried it, but you could experiment with substituting vanilla extract. Now, before you do anything else, heat your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit or 218 degrees Celsius. Begin by whisking together the dry ingredients in a medium-large mixing bowl. Add the lemon zest and cold butter pieces and toss to coat in the flour. Using a pastry blender, also known as a pastry cutter, fork, or your fingertips, cut the butter into the flour mixture. Continue until the mixture looks like coarse crumbs or wet sand. You don't want there to be any butter pieces that are larger than the size of a pea. The more you cut the butter into the flour, the wetter the dough will be. You can also use a food processor for this job if you have one and if you feel like dragging it out. In a separate small bowl, lightly beat the egg. Then add the yogurt, sweetener, and lemon flavoring. Whisk until well combined. Pour the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients and gently mix with a spatula until everything is moistened and a shaggy dough forms. For the softest scones, you want the dough to be somewhat sticky, but still able to form a cohesive dough. You can add more flour or yogurt to achieve the right consistency. Keep in mind that this is a little different than a classic scone dough. The secret to tender scones is twofold. 1, get the dough consistency right. Not too dry and stiff. 2, don't overmix or handle the dough. Now line a baking sheet with parchment paper. Transfer the dough to a lightly floured surface. Pat the dough out into a rectangle, then fold the dough into thirds. This helps to create flaky layers. Gently pat the dough out once more and fold into thirds. Finally, pat the dough out into a disc. Cut the dough into 8 triangles. You can use a bench scraper or a sharp knife for this. Now you can also form the scones the way that I did for my blueberry scones recipe if that's easier for you. You can always use a round cutter, a biscuit cutter, or a cookie cutter if you prefer a different shape of scones. Place the scones on the prepared baking sheet. I love my all-clad baking sheet, but another heavy-duty baking sheet will work as well. You want to space the scones at least 2 inches apart. They tend to spread out in the oven. So unless you want your scones to squish together, make sure to space them out. Bake the scones in your preheated oven. Bake until golden brown, about 12 to 14 minutes. This is a soft dough, so you want to ensure that the scones get baked all the way through. But on the other hand, you don't want to overbake them and dry them out. To me, the perfect scone is a soft and fluffy scone, not a dry and tough one. Now it's time to make the sweet lemon glaze. For the glaze, you'll need 6 tablespoons of powdered sugar, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and 3/8 teaspoon of lemon flavoring. The lemon flavoring is sort of optional, but not really. I'm not kidding when I say it takes these scones to the next level. Whisk together all of the glaze ingredients in a small bowl until completely smooth. You want the glaze to be thin enough to drizzle, but not so thin that it runs right off of the scones. Now drizzle that glaze all over the tops of the scones. Goodness, isn't that just fabulous? I love to serve these with a swipe of grass-fed butter. You could also opt for Devonshire cream for a more British flair. Mock Devonshire cream is also delicious. Or to really up the lemon flavor, you could serve these with a dollop of lemon curd. And of course, you must serve these with your favorite cup of tea. These scones can be stored in an airtight container at room temperature for about a day, or in the refrigerator for up to 5 days. However, these really are best served fresh. Now, if you're looking for a delicious drink to serve with these scones, then make sure to check out my London Fog Tea Latte recipe. Maple syrup, dry ingredients, the food processor, gently mix, for a more British. Be stored in an airtight, again with the airtight, an airtight